They plunged all of humanity into a deep trance, but one girl kept her mind, and the will to fight back. The story begins with a young woman in a hotel room, looking at herself in the mirror. She carefully applies her lipstick, takes a steadying breath, and heads to her boss Reggie's office. There, she shares a funny story about a Canadian saleswoman who always finds a way out of impossible situations. Reggie picks up on her hint. She sees herself in this story, and reassures her with a smile. He's appointing her as the hotel's new manager. Michelle is stunned. This promotion means everything to her. She jokingly asks what Reggie plans to do in retirement, and he laughs, saying he might become a rock star. She laughs along, teasing that he should stay at her hotel. She knows how to handle rowdy rock stars. After the conversation, Michelle steps out to applause and congratulations from her team. She jumps right into her new role, resolving a guest issue at the front desk with calm patience, impressing the receptionist with her skill in handling difficult people. Later, she heads to the cafe for lunch. Sitting at her table, she calls her husband to share the good news. He's thrilled for her and suggests they celebrate that night. But just as she ends the call, something strange happens. A sharp, searing pain hits her head, and she notices the people around her standing up and drifting away. When the pain finally fades, she realizes everyone in the cafe is staring out the window, transfixed. Curious and unsettled, Michelle steps outside and is taken aback by what she sees. A strange orange orb with a glowing ring, suspended in the sky. Everyone around her stands frozen, eyes locked on the orb, as if in a trance. Desperate, Michelle tries to get anyone's attention, but it's as if no one can hear her. Suddenly, an elderly woman approaches, asking how long the break will last. Confused, Michelle asks her to clarify, but the woman only glances at the orb before slipping into a trance herself, frozen in place. As Michelle wanders the streets, she realizes the same haunting scene is unfolding everywhere. As Michelle rushes past a man, he suddenly turns toward her and begins to speak. Michelle Weaver, a woman who has dedicated her entire life to achieving her goals. Now, as she embarks on a new chapter, the world itself stands on the brink of transformation. She must set aside her familiar life and prepare for an indefinite journey into the Twilight Zone. You are about to venture into a realm beyond mere sight and sound, into a dimension of the mind. This is a place that exists between light and shadow, between reason and madness. It teeters on the edge of humanity's deepest fears and the pinnacle of its knowledge. You are about to enter the realm of imagination. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone. Spotting a police officer nearby, Michelle rushes over and asks what's happening. He responds with eerie calmness, explaining that it's just routine maintenance in the world. Everything is on schedule, and that she needs to wake up. Without another word, he slips into a trance. Panic overtakes Michelle as she bolts for home, her heart racing. Inside, she calls for her husband, Carl. Hearing her distress, he steps out of the shower, listening as she desperately tries to explain about the strange orb, the pause in time, and people falling into trances. Slapping his forehead, he suddenly recalls the warning about maintenance work and nonchalantly adds, "Oh, by the way, my name is Danny now." Confused and terrified, Michelle watches as Carl, or Danny, heads toward the door, telling her it's no longer necessary to pretend. They have a life outside the dream. Desperately, she pleads for him to explain, but he simply glances at her, promises to call for help, and steps outside. He too is drawn to the orb, staring at it until he, like everyone else, falls into a trance. In a state of complete chaos, Michelle slams the door shut and locks it. But just before the click of the lock, two young men suddenly appear out of nowhere in front of her house. They enter quietly, making their way to the kitchen where Michelle stands with a knife, demanding to know who they are. They introduce themselves as customer support, here to assist with her issue and help her return to working order. One of them quickly realizes she doesn't remember anything, and the other, not wanting to escalate things, gently dematerializes the knife from her hand. He offers to show her a video on the TV that will help her understand what's going on. They sit her on the couch and play a promotional video for Sleepaway, a virtual reality program that lets people live alternate lives while they sleep. Once the video ends, the men explain that in the real world, her name is Phineas, and he created every aspect of the life she's living. She's not real, just a construct of the game. They go on to explain that at 11:15 the night before, the player logged into Dreams Unlimited, played for a few hours, and then had a heart attack, falling into a coma. The sudden recollection of the intense pain she'd felt makes Michelle freeze. Phineas is still unconscious, but his mind is still connected to the game. The only way to free her is to perform an emergency desynchronization. Michelle, overwhelmed with disbelief and terror, begins to panic. She rejects the idea of any procedures. She just got the promotion she had worked so hard for. This can't be happening. She begs them to leave her alone, insisting that she'll simply wait out the maintenance and everything will go back to normal. Seeing that the situation is deteriorating, the program management sends in an emergency contact. Phineas's wife, Aileen. Furious with the customer support team, She demands to speak directly with her husband's avatar. As the orb signals that the maintenance break will be over in 20 minutes, Aileen and Michelle walk to a nearby park. Aileen explains that she understands why Phineas would want to be Michelle. He's strong, brave, in control of everything. And you're beautiful. They sit on a bench, and Aileen recounts the story of how she and Phineas met. It started with him saying, "Don't break it," the same phrase he used when he proposed. Listening, Michelle feels an overwhelming sense of connection with Aileen, as though they've known each other for years. In an unexpected gesture, Aileen kisses Michelle, hoping it might help Phineas find his way back. Shocked, Michelle pulls away and insists, "He's not here." But Aileen, undeterred, insists that she's been married to Phineas for 15 years, and they have 2 wonderful children waiting for their father to come home. After a moment of reflection, Michelle's avatar agrees to attempt the desynchronization. Together, they turn toward the orb, and Aileen begins the countdown. But at the last second, Michelle looks away, and Aileen immediately falls into a trance. After the encounter, Michelle leaves, hiding from the support team. She heads to the hotel and retrieves the key to a room on the top floor. Inside, she finds guests who are still in a trance, just like everyone else. Hours later, as Michelle lies on the bed, she hears a strange knocking sound. Approaching the window, she sees a pigeon on the sill, staring intently at her before letting out a high-pitched screech. She looks outside and sees that someone is coming for her. In a panic, she rushes out of the room, only to hear the elevator doors opening right in front of her. Fleeing from those searching for her, she escapes to the building's rooftop. But then, she hears a voice behind her. Turning, she sees a man standing there. He introduces himself as Tom from emergency support and apologizes for the inconvenience caused by the day's disruptions. The team, he explains, is still trying to figure out the cause of the glitches, first with the city's layout, and now with Phineas's situation. But the maintenance is almost over, and soon the game will resume for millions of players worldwide. Tom tells Michelle that if she wants to continue playing as Michelle in the game, all she has to do is sign a form releasing the company from any liability. But Michelle sees through the illusion now and refuses to stay. She knows everything around her is fake. If leaving this world will help Phineas, she has to do it. Tom then reveals the truth. Phineas didn't have a heart attack. He took a bottle of sleeping pills before logging into the game. If Michelle signs the agreement, she can remain in this false world forever. Trembling, she signs the form, knowing there's no turning back. Tom reminds her to stay in character, warning that if she chooses to disconnect, she must do so before the break ends. Michelle looks at the orb and sees that only 10 seconds remain before the game resumes. The countdown ends, and the break is over. The game starts again, and people gradually return to their senses. Life resumes as though nothing ever happened. At the hotel's reception, Michelle stands, and as she turns, she sees Aileen entering. Aileen has come to book a room for a few weeks, unaware of the profound changes Michelle has undergone. The strange world she now inhabits is far from over, and Michelle knows that this is just the beginning of a new chapter. Would you play such a game, knowing that if something were to happen to you in the real world, a part of you would continue to live on in the virtual world? Share your thoughts in the comments down below, give a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next videos.